Okay, so it's time. My name is Mattias Allring. I will talk to you about the step-by-step approach to automation and the importance of the mantra, think big, but start small and scale fast from there. But before we go into the methodology, let's start with why. Why should you care about automation? Well, the honest answer is it depends. There are a number of typical reasons to automate, typical topics, but they are individual for each of you. You need to apply your business logic and quantify them. And each of these topics can either be a big thing or a small thing. And preferably, you will be able to quantify them in terms of money. And once you collect all that value and costs, you can balance them against the potential investments, and that is how you calculate your return on investment. But making that calculation is easy. The hard thing is getting the assumptions right, both on the problem side, but also on the solution side, and more on how to manage those risks later in the presentation. But it's becoming the stakes are now more than just money. It's becoming a fight to keep the lights on. When we talk to our customers broadly and ask them what keeps them up at night, the one theme that's coming up at the top of the list more and more is challenges related to staff. Staff is one of the, if not the most mission-critical asset of a company, yet the source of so much worry. So this begs the question, is what you experience here a bump in the road, or is this the new normal? Well, the truth is that it's worse. We're at the beginning of a very ugly trend. And what this is a demographics graph of Europe. How it works is that you take the volume of people and you arrange it along an age axis. And you have men to the left, women to the right. And the available workforce is a space in between the kids at the bottom and the retired at the top. Do you see a problem with this graph? Let's zoom in on the side. The outflow from the workforce to retirement will increase for the next 30 years, while the inflow from kids is diminishing. And it will continue, that inflow will continue to go down for the next 20 years. This is what inevitability looks like. Even if I had a magic wand that I could put a love spell on the youth of Europe and make them produce babies like it's a summer of 1945, that still wouldn't change this trend in another 20 years. So the only conclusion that you can draw from this is that whatever you're experiencing now is as good as it's going to get for the next 2 decades. It's only getting worse from here. Let's look at the nearby segment and how this is already affecting the truck business driving on roads, lorries. This is a data set from the World Road Transport Organization regarding unfulfilled positions for truck drivers. And already today, there's 250,000 truck drivers missing. But what you also see in this data set is that this is not a regional trend. This is a global trend affecting almost all advanced economies. Fast forward to 2028, and the problem in Europe has now tripled. Almost every 5th truck does not have a driver. This risks wreaking havoc in the supply lines. So in a world short on labor, automation has to step up. And Intralogistics still has a low degree of automation. And the technology is here. This is lunch break at one of our customers. All the staff is in the canteen. Value is still created. Okay, so you want to go to start automating. What's the advice? The mantra is think big, start small, scale fast. And that's actually how you once learned to ride a bike. This girl, she's dreaming about riding a motorcycle down the Autobahn, or at least drive across the road to her friend. But you wouldn't let her. That would be too risky, right? That's not how you learn to ride a bike. You do that on a very small bike in a very safe place. You start on your driveway, and you make mistakes and you fall over and you hurt yourself, but it's not dangerous. And you apply that learning, and you get on a bigger bike. That's how you should invest in automation. Make your assumptions. That was the first slide I had up. Quantify what you think your problems are worth to you. Then predict the value of an investment. Then make a limited, small investment. Don't bet big. Then you get the actual outcome, and then you learn from it. And you apply that new knowledge in your next investment and get on a bigger bike. So why is it so? Why is betting big not the best approach? Let me try to explain this to you in a graphical way. Imagine this is where you are now, and let this arc here be your financial muscles. This is your ability to invest. And you could set off in any direction you could of this arc. But you make your homework, you make a solid plan, and you set out where you want to go. And then you make your big bang investment. You end up there, and now reality hits you, and you realize that this was actually where you needed to go, and then delays and costs will follow. The step-by-step approach, you deploy things to reality. Step by step, you learn and you course correct, and that's a safer way to get to where you want to go. So why is it like this? What is the source of why it works like this? And it has to do with knowledge. Knowledge comes in three forms. It's the stuff that you know. It's the stuff that you know that you don't know. And it's a third category. It is the stuff that you don't know that you don't know. And this is a killer of plans. But when you deploy things with a step-by-step approach, like the little girl, you will fall over and you will learn. You deploy something, you get an actual outcome, and you learn from it, and your knowledge grows, and you deploy something based on that increased knowledge, and then you learn and you move on, like this. So, think big, start small, scale fast with a step-by-step approach. So far in the presentation, we have only talked about the importance to start small and scale fast. You start small to limit the risk in the real world. But don't stop thinking big. Don't stop dreaming. Dreams are safe. Dreams can help you set a strategic direction and incentive. And from that direction, you pick a small thing that you deploy to reality. But dreams are also elusive. They are hard to collaborate around. They're hard to test. It's hard to find the stuff that you didn't know in a dream. But what if it wasn't so? What if we could sketch out your dream together right there on the conference table? What if we could build it together step by step during the time frame of a normal business meeting? We could test assumptions, we could see the actual outcome, we could find unforeseen problems, we could correct them, and have an iterative discussion together within the course of a normal business meeting. This has been our dream at Toyota for a long time, and now it is a reality. And what I will show you now The point is not what this tool can do. The point is how fast it is, and that we can do it together within the time frame of a business meeting or even a Teams call. And it all starts with your floor plan. This could be just a piece of paper like this, or a computer file. And watch now how we use this. This will be fast. So first we take a picture of this piece of paper. And now we will build a dream on that piece of paper. We import it into our tool. Okay, where's the inflow to your business? Where does stuff come in? That's a blue. Okay, let's put some, and that's where it's going. That's the delivery point. We need somewhere to drive. That's a purple highways. We're drawing on top of your piece of paper now. Where does it need to be stored? Where is your racking? Over here. Let's put the rack there. Let's copy-paste it. Let's copy-paste some more racks there. Let's put a driveway in between them so the trucks can drive there. Okay, where's your outbound? Where's the deep stack? Okay, we're putting a deep stack over there. Great. These are electrical vehicles. They need to charge somewhere. Where can we put the automatic charging stations? We need to put them over there. Let's put one there. Let's copy-paste it. That's 3 chargers in there. And now let's deploy it. 1 minute. That's your piece of paper, and the trucks are driving on top of your piece of paper of your floor plan, and we're already getting performance data out of this in a first iteration. So we can test those business assumptions. Do you get the right throughput? Is it too many vehicles? Did we miss something in the idea? This way, yeah, you see the KPIs here. What's the availability, the performance? Do we have any constraints in the traffic flow, etc.? So that's how to do the first thing, to think big. But now we want to start small. So let's zoom in onto something in this stream that looks promising. Remember the deep stack? There's a simple shuttle here, picking stuff off from a conveyor and putting it in a deep stack. Perfect place to start. This will probably give a good return on investment, and it's something simple and risk-free. But it's still an investment. What if we could do it even easier? And this is where Swarm Automation Go comes in. So when we have selected this flow and we see it's simple, we can offer it as a service. That means you take no investment. We take the investment, we do the commissioning, we make it work, and we just sell the service of it working. And once, after 6 months, if you don't want it anymore for any reason, we take it back. We do the decommissioning. So this is automation as a service. So this is Swarm Automation Go. But what is Swarm Automation? This is a term that you will hear a lot from us going forward, and I will explain to you what Swarm Automation is. But first, I want to talk about why. Why Swarm Automation? And it has to do with the software stack in the factory. Everything that needs moving around, all these vehicles, they need to get their instructions what to do from somewhere. And that somewhere is usually the VMS system. But as the complexity grows with more and more vehicles, the complexity grows, and so does the bills from the software companies and the consultancy firms responsible to make it all work. But what if it wasn't so? What if more was not more complex? What if we could somehow turn this into an advantage? Let's turn to nature for inspiration. So in nature, being more individuals in a population isn't necessarily a disadvantage. Nature has learned to leverage this into advantages in different ways. For instance, fishes singled out are vulnerable, but they are shaping swarms, and swarms become a new entity. They are perceived as a new entity, and that keeps fishes safe. Ants can take on, swarms of ants can take on jobs that are way too big for such a small creature. But at a swarm, they can take it on. They have no hierarchy, yet they coordinate and execute the jobs in an optimized way. Swarms of bees can take on complex tasks where bees specialize on different assignments. And the outcome is more than just the sum of all bees. So how could we take this inspiration into a warehouse? How can we take away the complexity by making everything become one, and also to make it more, the outcome more than just the sum of all parts? We need to go back to the stack. There's a layer missing. We need to have something that binds the how, so that the VMS can focus on what it wants to happen, and the swarm takes care of how it happens. The VMS doesn't need to care about who belongs to the swarm, what equipment is there, or how you optimally execute the task. That's taken care of by the swarm. And we think this is so important that we will include the swarm even if it's only one truck. That means that whenever you need to scale, it's still one swarm. You just pour more vehicles into the same swarms, and the capacity and the capabilities grow. So let's pick one example, a very simple example. Here we have something end of line. Somebody's pushing a screen that's part of the swarm. Swarm knows it needs to execute a job, but it splits the work between two vehicles. So the first part, it's economically more sound to let this relatively cheap carrier move it horizontally, whilst having a more expensive reach truck waiting at the end to complete the job. So from a VMS perspective, this is one job. It doesn't know who does it or how it's done, but it gets optimized. So I talked to you about swarm automation Go earlier. So next step here is to create specialized swarms focused on different jobs. I talked to you about swarm automation Go that solves the issue of providing automation as a service. But what we will look at now is swarm automation storage. This is focused on another task. This is optimizing storage to the max. So all the vehicles that you see in this video, they're part of the same swarm. All the storage spaces, all the shuttles, everything is, from the perspective of the VMS, it's one machine. Okay, so we're coming up on the end of my presentation. I will be here today and tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can meet me at this stand. To summarize what I've talked about, it is think big, start small, scale fast. And I've shown you how we can, with the SketchUp tool, we can build a dream and test it quickly. I've shown how we, with the Swarm Automation Go, we can test something small, make it easy to deploy it and learn. And I've shown that the swarm makes you more ready to scale, because everything is always packaged as a swarm. That's all I had. Thank you.